Hi guys, so I am so excited today because I've got in my kit, which is so exciting. So what I'm hopefully going to do for you today is we're going to have a demo, hopefully, with all of the products that we've got in the kit. Well, some of the products we've got in the kit. Okay, so the thing I'm going to be demoing today is quite a simple easel card. Okay, so obviously, as you all know, I'm kind of more art based. So I'm going to show you today how to paint the angel very basically, but how we're going to paint the angel and then obviously how we're going to stick it all together. Okay, so first thing I want to tell you is that the background that I've used and the cardstock that I've actually die cut Angela out of is actually watercolour card, okay, and it's kind of a little bit cream as well, so because I quite like that bit of warmth to it. Sometimes when you get cardstock you get kind of like blue tone cardstock, sometimes you'll get it kind of more on the cream side. This is kind of, it's white but it's more on the cream side, which gives it a bit more warmth to it, which I quite like. I think it matches this collection really well. Okay, so I've pre-die cut Angela, okay, which is one of the dies in your kit, the main die in your kit, okay. So I've pre-die cut her. Obviously you all know what you're doing with die cut, so I'm not going to demo that side of it, but there also is a matching charisma to this, so if you didn't want to paint it, you can use the charisma for it and have it pre-painted, but I just want to give you a little bit of an idea of how to paint it yourself, okay. So first of all, I just want to show you, so the paints that I'm going to be using are the Dora, the Cadence Dora paints. So I know you've kind of been introduced to the Cadence range, and I know you've also seen the Dora, which is the gorgeous sparkly paints, okay, and I think it kind of matches with this collection, with it kind of having that sort of magical feel to it. I think these paints work really well. So the colours that I'm using the antique pink, the dried rose and diamond, and then the green. Okay, so I'm not going to use loads and loads of colours because I quite like the idea of having kind of like all tonal colours, so you don't necessarily have to think, okay, because it's skin, we've got to use a skin colour tone. Okay, I like the idea of it kind of all kind of toning along, so you know, if you want to kind of mix it up a bit and kind of do, like for instance, do everything in purples, you can do. It doesn't always have to be that you use skin colours or browns for the hair. I'm actually using like pink for the hair tone, so it just makes it a little bit different and it tones everything as well. Okay, so do it. Apologise for my very scruffy water pot, hopefully you can't see that. So what I do with these paints is I actually just use the lid, because you'll see that there's enough paint in there to actually just utilise the paint in the lid, and because we're kind of doing it more watercolour-y, you don't need a lot of paint. We're literally just using the tiniest little bit of paint in the lids, okay? And if you've not got enough in the lid, all you need to do is just shake your paint pots and you'll get a little bit out of the lid, okay? So, right, so I'm using, I think it's a size 6 paintbrush, and you know what I haven't got? I haven't got any baby wipes with me or any tissue, so I'm going to be absolutely painted up to the eyeballs by the end of this. So firstly, I'm going to start off by doing the wings, okay? So I'm using the diamond for the wings, and all I'm doing is I'm just getting a little bit out onto my mat so that it's nice and watered down, okay? And then all I'm doing is I'm just kind of adding a little bit of texture in there, okay? So I'm not doing anything specific. I'm not necessarily sort of adding or following any lines. I'm just kind of going in there and I'm just sort of putting markings in there to start off with, okay? So it kind of gives the illusion of kind of having a bit of depth to it. Okay, so it kind of gives the feathers a bit of a shaping to them, but you can see I'm just going for it. There's no direction to it, there's no kind of neatness really. I'm just kind of giving it a little bit of depth, okay? And you can see straight away, just because I'm leaving the matte of the cardstock, and I'm just kind of going in between the feathers, dotting it here and there. You're kind of creating depth, even though I'm not really doing it in a detailed way. Okay, so I'm really not, you know, this is not an artist technique, or if it is, it's one that I've made up. So we're just kind of going for it. We're literally just kind of going in between, and it's good to leave the mat of the card, because leaving the mat of the card allows it to create that depth. And it also creates texture as well, because you've got the shimmer of the paint, but then you've got the matte of the actual cardstock in there, okay? So you can see, ever so basic, there's not much going off there, but it has given it a bit of shape to it as well. And all I'm gonna then do, I'm just gonna add in a wince, and it's only a wince, of the, what colour we've got? Antique pink, okay? So it's just to give it a tiny, tiny bit of warmth in there. And again, I'm just adding it to my mat, and I'm just going in there and putting a bit of the dried rose in there, bit of warmth, bit of depth in there, okay? You can see there is literally nothing to this. It's not difficult at all. You'll all be painting your dies up by the end of this, I feel sure. Okay, so now what I'm now going to do, I'm now going to use the same colour for her face, okay? So again, we are not doing anything fancy. All I'm going to do is I'm going to wash it from the outside in, okay? So you can see we had a bit of paint, then we wash it into the middle, okay? And all that's doing is it's giving a very, very, very subtle wash. And what I always suggest is, if you do it dark around the outside, if you imagine where you're going to have like a shadow created, so around your hairline, you're always going to have a bit of a shadow around the hairline, okay? And under your chin, you'll always have a bit of a shadow underneath the chin, because obviously you've got depth under your chin, so a bit of a shadow underneath the chin, and then round her shoulder. And you can add more to it. Don't be concerned to sort of start off nice and light, nice and subtle, and then build it up, okay? Don't be worried about this. It's you go at your own pace. I mean, I'm doing it quite quick because obviously you don't want to be sat there all day, but you don't have to do it quick yourself. Take your time, build it up, okay? And when you're using the watercolour card, it allows you to be able to do that. It allows you to be able to kind of build it up because of the quality of the cardstock. Okay, so now I'm going to go in and add some to her hair. So this time, I'm not actually washing it out. Did you notice I've gone straight from the pot and I'm going straight onto the cardstock with this? So we're not washing it out this time because I want it to have some depth and some strength to it. Okay, so I'm adding a little bit in, okay, and we're just going to swish it in there, and then I'm going to go in and I'm then going to wash it out slightly. And again, we're creating depth by doing that because we're sort of bringing it in from the root, and we're creating a bit of a shine in that central area by adding the water. It's sort of blending it out. It's giving it a sort of shine to it. Okay, so again, this flap goes underneath, so we're just going to go straight into the cardstock with it, straight from the pot. Oh dear, I'm making the table wobble. Okay, and then just blending it out again. Okay, oh, just a moment, we've just got a little tab in there that we don't want. Okay, so bringing it down, and look at that gorgeous shimmer that you get. And once this is dried, you'll see it'll even shimmer even further as well. It's beautiful paint. The reason that it does that is because in this particular paint, it's actually made up of ground up metal flakes, of gilding flakes, okay? So it's unlike any other glittery paint. Normally glitter paints have got like a mica in them, and the problem with mica is it's a mined product, so it's weighted. So what happens is it always settles to the bottom, and you'll always find you always have to shake it. Whereas with this product, because it's ground up gilding flakes, it's very, very light, so it stays suspended throughout. Okay, so you never ever have to shake them up unless you want paint in your lid, obviously. Other than that, it will always stay suspended. You never ever have to shake it. it just stays in all the time. And even when you water it down, as I have done on the face, you still get that beautiful shimmer as well. Okay, so it's a really, really lovely product, and not many products you can actually watercolour paint with them. A lot of them, a lot of paints you'll find will separate, and you'll find that they sort of go a bit grimy, especially if they have a glitter to them. They really, really don't like being watered down. But with this, you can use it solidly, or you can water it down and use it as a watercolour paint. I've done this so many times and I love the effect of it because it just gives it a bit of a magical feel to it, and we all like a bit of magic, don't we? So now what I'm now going to do is I'm now going to put a wince of grey, sorry, the diamond, not grey, in her eyes. Okay, so you just see I'm literally, and if you want to use a smaller brush at this point, you can do. Don't feel like you've got to use a large brush like I'm doing, okay? And even though I've gone over her eyes anyway, so I've messed up there anyway, but don't feel like you've got to follow in my rulings. If you want to use various different size brushes, go for it, whatever makes you feel more comfortable, okay? I like this size of brush. To me, it's an all-rounder, so it'll do sort of, you know, full-on amounts of colour, but it also, you can get a fine point to it. And you also make sure, guys, that you use nice brushes. Don't go buying the cheapest of the cheap, because you'll find what will happen if you do that is that you'll get frustrated because your brush will be rubbish, and then when you paint you'll think, why is it not working? And it's not to do with your lack of ability or the fact that you can't do it. It's more down to the fact that you're using the wrong stuff. So you don't use the right paint, you don't use the right brushes, and you can't do it. And you think that it's your fault, and it isn't. It's down to the fact that you're not using the right stuff, okay? So if you buy yourself nice quality paints and you buy yourself nice brushes, you will never struggle with your stuff, okay? You will always get a good finish to it, okay? Something that I always recommend, okay? So guys, I'm now going in and I'm getting some of the dried rose, okay? And what we're going to do is we're going to fill in her peony, okay? Or whatever flower you want it to be. I think it's peony. But if you want it to be something else, then that's absolutely fine. So I'm just going in, and you can see I'm kind of just giving it more of a base. I'm not necessarily adding any detail or shape into it at the moment. Kind of just going in and getting a bit of base colour in there, okay? Because you can add to it, okay? So, and again, you can build up your colour. You don't have to go in there thinking you've got to go all guns blazing, it's got to be perfect the first time. You can build it up, okay? And also, what I just want to tell you as well is, you see how I'm kind of dotting about? The reason I'm doing that is because it's allowing the other areas to just dry, okay? So, you know, like sometimes, not so much when you're using watercolour cardstock, because it is used to being quite battered. But when you're using other types of cardstock, sometimes you'll find it'll start to pile, and that's when you're overworking it. So it's good to kind of keep moving around your piece, because that allows areas to dry so that you're not then overworking and overworking and overworking. So if you do one rose, then go to the other one, or the peony, go from one to the other, that one's drying while you're actually working on the other one, then you can go back to that one, and you're not then overworking your cardstock, and you're not going to get it starting to pile. And what I mean by piling is kind of when it starts to separate and bunch together and roll. I'm sure you've all kind of seen that happening before. I know I have. But that, then you can keep going back. So now I can go back to this one. We can just go in and kind of add a little bit more back into this one, and can you see it's not overworking it because it's had that chance to just dry, just a wince there. And then we go back to this one and we add, and you can see I am so not doing this in any sort of fashion. I'm literally going in there and I'm just adding just a bit of depth to it, so there's nothing difficult there at all. Okay, so then the last part we're going to do is just going to add in the little tiny bit of green. So we just want to, and I think this will kind of just, it just lifts it slightly, okay? Now, did you see there where I kind of added the green and then went, oh my God, that's so bright. Okay, don't panic, okay, because you can see we've washed it out, okay, so it was a bit like loud and it was a bit in your face. So all we've done is we've added a bit and then just washed it out. So don't panic, don't think, oh my goodness, I've ruined it, that's the end of the world, we can't do anything with that now, it's terrible. No, just get your brush, just take it back again. And also what you can do is if you get yourself a bit of tissue paper, you know, if you do that and you think, oh, that's terrible, add a bit of water to it and then fetch it out with a piece of tissue, okay? And that will completely soak up all your paint, well, maybe not all your paint, but it'll definitely soften it off, okay? So it just allows you to be able to kind of de-harshify it, if that's even a word. Okay, so it just softens it slightly. Okay, so you can see we've just added that bit of green and it just lifts it slightly. So it kind of allows it to just, so it's not all the muted tone, just breaks it up and lifts it, okay? And then last but not least, I want to do her lips and the clock edge, okay? So with the clock edge, I'm going to go back in and give myself a bit of that diamond colour and just go over this slightly, and then again with the dried rose I'm just going to pop a little bit of a low light in there with that dried rose. See, nothing complicated at all, okay? And then her lips, I think we'll go for that gorgeous dried rose in there, that pink colour, okay? Now, one thing I am going to show you guys, and this is up to you whether you want to kind of go with this idea or not, but I kind of feel that she needs some eyelashes. I kind of feel that her eyes are a little bit stark, okay? So what I have done, and as well, because I've done the diamond around the irises there, I think her pupils need to be brought out a little bit. So all I've done, and bearing in mind this is a little bit wet, I would recommend for you to do this when it was dry, okay, because it does make it a bit easier. So if it completely bleeds out, you'll have to bear with. So this is just literally a fine liner, okay? It's actually a water-based fine liner, but it doesn't matter either way, but it's just a very fine nib, so probably like maybe a 0.1, something like that. And all I'm going to do, guys, is just go in there, okay? And can you see, I'm just lifting out, but also look at what I've done here. So I've gone around the edge because you want to leave in that highlight. That is a really, really important thing. If you don't have highlights, the eyes look dead. Okay, so we want to just go around the outside and leave in a highlight, okay? It's really, really important, that, guys. Okay, and again, we're going round the irises. Lovely, lovely, lovely. And we leave in that lovely spark of a highlight in. This is where it's all going to go wrong. I'm going to admit to you that. But we're going to put some eyelashes in. Okay, so just literally just a flick up from the eye. And we're just going to give her just a few little eyelashes, okay? And also a bit of a line around the outside, okay? Can you all see that? Okay, so all it is just, I just think, can you see the difference between one eye and the other now? They look so much more attractive and they pop. Okay, so the other eye looks a bit flat and it looks like it's got nothing going on. She needs a mascara on. So we've just put a mascara on and it's just made her eyes pop a little bit, I think. And like I've said, obviously you will be doing this when the cardstock is dry. So you won't get any sort of bleeding out, but I haven't got the luxury of that. So again, we just give it a bit of a line. We're putting some eyeliner on, giving her a bit of makeup, putting a mascara on her eyelashes. Sorry if I'm just moving in shot there, guys. I think I might need a set of glasses soon. Old age and all that. So, can you just see, guys, we've just literally made her eyes nice and poppy there now. So, just lifted it slightly, okay? So, I'm going to pop her off to the side for the time being, okay? And I'm just going to bring in the feather. Now, obviously, this is a piece that's going to come in later, but while we've got the paint out, we might as well just get this feather done. And again, ever so quick this. All we're doing a bit of the diamond and I'm working from the centre out, okay? So it's so tiny, I'm struggling to pick it up. So we're just working from the centre out, bit of movement in there, okay, and a bit of shading underneath. Okay, so ever so simple with that, guys, really, just a bit of a wash on it. Okay, so we're going to pop that off to the side. Now, that's all this painting done, so I'm going to move the paints out of the way because I am likely to tip them over. And I'm just going to wipe my surface, just a quick wipe, just so that I don't get paint over everything. Okay, so most of it's probably dried anyway, but nevertheless. Right, okay, so the next stage is we're going to bring in the piece of square cardstock. So this is the piece that's behind, okay? So we're going to add in that lovely script. Now I'm going to tell you a little bit of a story about this piece of script. This is quite a piece in the kit, okay? So this piece of script has actually been, oh, if I can get it open, has actually been handwritten by my mama, and it is song lyrics of a song that my granddad wrote about my mama. Okay, so it's quite a personal thing, but I really like the fact that it's handwritten. I think it just really gives it kind of, it looks like old-fashioned writing, because my mama's got that lovely swirly writing, and she's a bit jittery now, but again, that makes it all the more kind of effective. So this is your stamp, okay, so this is from the stamp set. Just give you a quick sneaky glimpse. Okay, so this is the script that we're going to go for. Now, I'll turn that over because I've got a bit of a mark on that. Now, what I would suggest is just kind of lay it out slightly, okay? So when you've got your piece of cardstock, you want it to kind of balance with everything else. So what I would suggest is you kind of get your bits and pieces and just lay it out, okay? So kind of foam mock it up so that you know kind of how you want it to kind of come together, okay? That then allows you to kind of get a good idea of where you want your script to go. So we now know that our script kind of wants to go slightly behind a head like that, okay? So if you kind of mock it up, it gives you an idea. So we'll bring all this back out. Now, I'm using one of these fabulous load and folds, which is brilliant because obviously the idea with these is that you can keep going back if you want to. So these are actually fabulous. Now, normally I would put a bit of tape in here, but I forgot my tape. So we're going to put it in position, bring your load and fold down, and then I'm going to ink it up. Now I've chosen a silver on this because again, I like the idea of it kind of having that lovely shimmer to it, but not over the top. So we don't want it to be too intense in colour, okay, but a bit of shimmer behind her, I think ties in that gorgeous paint, and then you've got the matte of the cardstock. I really like that. Okay, so we've got it all inked up and we're going to bring it down and give it a good firm squish. Not so easy when you sat down, but we'll give it a go. Okay, so a good firm squish, and then, oh, look at that, bob on first time, check me out. Okay, so you can see that gorgeous scripting in the background there. Okay, so what I have actually done on the original, I have also just double stamped it as well. So what you can do is you can lay a piece of card or a piece of paper is better, just a piece of printing paper, lay it over the top and then move your stamp down, so that what happens then, you can then stamp the bottom half of the stamp, but it won't actually stamp over the top. But on this occasion, for the purposes of time, I'm just going to give you the top stamping layer. Okay, so you can see this is where we are now. So what we can now do is we can now start building it up. Okay, so first of all, before we start laying the Angela on top, what I just want to do, I just want to give it a bit of shape. So I've got actually a bit of foam here, which I've got glue on it. And all I'm going to do is literally get my ball tool and just give her a bit of a shape, okay? Not too much. We don't want her being like really curvaceous. She's, you know, she's been on a bit of a diet. So we give her just a bit of shape. Okay, so we're just getting the ball tool in there, and can you see how it's just starting to come together a little bit there now? Just starting to lift up off of the foam, and it's just giving it just a little bit of shaping. Can you see? And I think it helps. It just gives it a bit of something when you're laying it on. You don't want it to be completely flat. You don't want it to be quite stark. We want it to have a bit of shape. Okay, and then I'm going to bring in my foam pads. Okay, I know some of you like using your Kalal gel, whatever it is, gel glue. I prefer using foam pads. That's just my choice because I don't like getting too much in a mess. So the next thing I also want to show you is this is the Vellum from the kit. Oh my goodness, it's beautiful. I'm so excited about this. And all I've done, guys, is I've literally torn the edge. I'll show you how I've done that in just a few minutes when I go to the next stage, but you can see just a bit of torn edge on that, and I've just taken one panel of it so that it will then lay nicely over the top of the cardstock. Okay, so all we want to do is just get it in position where we want it. Okay, and then I've pre-taped this. I'm really organised on this one bit, even if nothing else is, and we're going to just take the tape off of this, and we know that it's in the right spot. Okay, so take your tape off. I'm never going to be able to get rid of that now. And then fold it around, and again on this bit we've just got a bit of tape on here, and I can't get rid of it again, and fold it around. Okay, so now we know that that is in exactly the right place. I kind of quite like the fact, can you see how it just literally goes underneath the script there? I really like how that script goes underneath there. And then again with the foam pads, just bop them down wherever you want. There's no reasoning behind this really. Just pop your foam pads on and then fetch them off, and it's dead easy. Oh dear, this is always the worst bit, isn't it? Getting all your tabs off. Doesn't help either that my nails are all broken off, but hey ho. Right, okay, so, and again we're just going to bring her in just to slightly overlap, okay? And you see she's got a lovely bit of depth there now, and she kind of pops off the page a little bit. It gives it a bit of a shadow, which I think really helps, okay? So now that's the hard bit done. So the rest of it now is just sticking it all together. So I have got here my little box of bits. So first of all, because it's an easel card, obviously we needed to make the easel, and all I've done with that, guys, is halfway down your card. So this is just a 7x7 card. Halfway down I've scored it and folded it, and that's going to create our easel. Also, what I've also done is dusted around the edge. Okay, so again, this is what I was talking to you about before. Remember when I said to you about cardstock, quite often white can be a little bit blue, and I think for this particular collection, I think the sort of warmer white is better. So all I've done with this is got a bit of ink, either your oxides, this is actually one of the clouds, and all I've done is literally dusted round the edge. And can you see how that is actually warming that cardstock up? So when we add the cream cardstock and the pink cardstock over the top of it, it's actually just toned this white down. The blue white just did not look right at all with this. So I think just warming it up slightly with this colour tone just allows it to not be stark against the pink and the cream. Okay, so quick and easy peasy, just dusted that up. Okay, and then we've got your matte and layers. Okay, so this is just something out of my stash at home. Gorgeous pink colour, and again it matches all the cardstock and all the vellums really, really well. So that's just going to mat and layer over the top of that. So all I'm going to do is just pop a little bit of finger lift tape. If you prefer wet glue, you can do wet glue, but just literally a wince of finger lift tape. Now I know for a fact you guys are going to do this loads better than I am. I'm just doing a very, very quick job here, but for the purposes of you not wanting to see me put loads and loads of tape on, I think this is the better way. Okay, so then we're just gonna pop this over the top. Sorry if you can see my head at this point now. I just want to try and make sure I get it totally not level. So again, you will make sure it's level because you won't have a camera above your head. Okay, so then we then want to add this to your card. Okay, so this is where we make the easel bit. So again, bit of tape on there, just to hold it in place. And then we put on the mats and layers. Okay, so, oh dear, I'm not doing very well with this tape at all today, am I? Okay, then again, you need to just, all you do is make sure that you're exactly in the right place, and then you've got your easel card. How cool is that? So now on the topper, again, I think it's better to kind of have that little bit of kind of depth to it. So I'm just going to put some foam tabs on the back, so that it creates a bit of depth. Okay, I think, you know, when we're doing cards, if everything's too flat, it doesn't have the same dimension. So I think just kind of putting a bit of your gel glue or your foam pads behind it just kind of lifts it slightly. Now I know you'll probably do this in a much better way, but again, this is more for sort of time purposes. So we just take all the tabs off, and then it'll give us a bit more depth. Okay, and obviously as you guys well know, when you're doing your matting and layering, just make sure that you've got a slight recess from one to the other. I have got two different types of recesses because I wanted to see more of the pink than I did of the white. Okay, so still got another one there I've missed. Okay, so now we've got all the foam tabs off. Again, I do apologise because this is so not going to be level, but you guys will be able to look over the top of yours and make sure that it's nice and level. Okay, so, and also make sure you don't put it upside down. So now we have the front of our card. Okay, so we're now going to move on to doing the base bit of the card. Okay, so the bit that holds it all in place when you put it up. So again, we've just got your mats and layers. Okay, so you've got your pink layer. Oh, I do apologise. So your pink layer, put a bit of tape on your pink layer, and then pop that in place, and you can actually see where I've gone round with the ink on this. So you can just see here where I've just dusted around, so you've got the same as you have got on your top half as well, and then just pop your cardstock down so you've got that lovely border around. Like I say, you'll have more tape on than I've put on, and then again you want to just pop a little bit of foam pads on this one just to raise it up slightly. That will also hold your top layer so that it doesn't drop down. So that little bit of a raise up just allows it to stop the top from sliding. Okay, I'm sure you all know about these things anyway, but I've got to tell you. So again, taking your foam pads off, and then we then pop this one in exactly the same way, raised up. Okay, so now you can see, look, that's your stopper to stop it from sliding. Yeah? So now we've got your vellum. Now, so I was just wanted to show you how we sort of tear it. And again, I know you probably guys know what you're doing with your tearing, but I just wanted to give you an idea. So this is going to fit in this little area here, okay? So what I always do is have a quick look and give it a bit of a bend where you kind of want to start it. So you know you kind of got an idea as to where you want to start your tearing, okay? And what I do is I kind of tear lifting towards me. That means that you're going to get like a bit of a white frayed edge to it, whereas if you tear it away from you, the frayed edge is going to be on the underneath. So always kind of tear towards you and you get that lovely sort of frayed edge on the top of it, okay, which is the whole point of us actually tearing it, isn't it, really? So then, and if you've got any little bits, just sort of go ahead and sort of take those little areas off as well, okay? And that now is going to fit there. We might just have to take that little edge off there, but that's going to fit on to your cardstock on top. Now, what I would probably suggest when you're doing your vellum is just to glue it where you're not going to see it, okay? Because it doesn't matter. I quite like the fact that it sort of has a little bit of depth away from your card. I don't think that's a bad thing. So where we've actually got here, we're going to put the sentiment on the bottom here. Can I just show you? So we're going to have that sentiment there on the bottom. That's where we're going to glue it because you're not going to see it, okay? And you can use your wet glue if you want to. Just be aware that if you use too much wet glue, what will happen is you will get it could ripple a little bit, okay, because vellum doesn't like a lot of water. So just bear that in mind if you're going to use a lot of glue. If you're going to use glue, I would just say spot it, okay? But I'm going to use tape because we've got tape here to use. So just sort of have an idea as to where you want to pop it because of your sentiment, okay? And then literally just put your bit of tape underneath, and then that will then stick on, okay? And that's going to be covered perfectly by our sentiment, okay? So now we'll pop that off to the side because we're now going to do our sentiment. I do apologise, the bit's dropped on the floor. So just grab my bit. So I've pre-cut these, okay? So you've got, that's your mat, and that's going to be your layer on top, okay? And the sentiment that I've actually used is, just let me get this out. Okay, so the one that I've chosen is this one, which says, feathers appear when angels are near. Now, I love these sentiments on here. I'm not going to show you them all because you'll have to wait and see what they all say for the show, but I love the sentiments. I've got some, I handpicked all the sentiments that I wanted to use on this particular collection, and they are all really, really fab. So again, putting it in the load and fold. So getting the position of where you want it in your load and fold. So make sure it's in the right place. Squish it down, lift it up, and again, we're going to use this lovely silver. So just ink it up, make sure it's nice and juicy. We don't want to miss anything, okay? So ink it all up, bring it down, and give it a good firm squish again. And hopefully, look at that again. Did it first time. I'm getting better at this. Okay, so pop that out of the way and then bring the card back in. Right, so all we're going to do now is we're just going to pop a bit of foam tape on, foam pads on the back of this again, just to raise it up slightly, give it a bit of depth, and then we'll stick it on to. Hey, look here, I'm going less and less here. Okay, so if I was doing this at home, they'd have loads on it, but you know, you don't want to see me fiddling about with this all the time, do you? Okay, so pop that into the centre of your matting and layering. Hopefully this time I might get a bit more level, probably not. Okay, so then bringing in your cardstock, we're going to pop it just on there. Okay, so it covers that bit of tape up perfectly. Can't see any of that at all. And then put a bit of tape on the back of it, and we'll just bring that in like this. Okay, so absolutely lovely. And again, when we then bring that round, that looks fab. Now, we've got 2 more things left to do. We're going to add in his feather. Okay, so what I'm going to do is we're going to add the feather in just here. Okay, so it's just touching the bottom. But first of all, just want to give it a little wince of shape. So again, bring back in his ball tool, give it a bit of shape to it. And then a bit of a foam pad on the back of it and pop it in place. Easy peasy lemon squeezy. Okay, so we'll bring that back in, take his backing off his tape, and then I think it's sort of got like a bit of a base to it. So I kind of just want it to kind of just fit in with the base there. So when then it fits into place, it'll just rest onto here. Can you see? Perfect. And last but not least, just got a little few pearls just to pop on along the top edge of your vellum. Okay, and this rounds up my demonstration. I hope you've enjoyed it. I know I have. I feel buzzing now. And lastly, I just want to show you a little surprise of what is going to come for the show. Okay, so that's the card finished. I hope you all like it, and I hope you do it. Okay, so last but not least, I just want to bring in a surprise. So if you watch the show, which I hope you do, we have got a giveaway. So I am going to be giving away my original watercolour artwork on the show. So email in, make sure you get your spot. Okay, it's signed, it's got the lovely Dora paints on it as well, and it has been hand painted, so please tune in for the show. Can't wait for you all to see it. Okay, thank you very much for joining me today.